Hi, I'm Emo Kitsune, mom, small business owner. If you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. I'm sure you've watched videos on this topic before, but I wanted to offer like a different perspective. Like oftentimes you get advice on how to make sales at Artist Alley from other artists. Well, I'm going to give you advice as a customer and as someone who easily spends like a few $100s on Artist Alley when I have it, on complete strangers, artworks, comics, stickers, all that stuff. But I've also used to Artist Alley myself for like over 9 years, way back in the far gone era of the 2010s. So I'm giving advice as mostly a customer, but also as like an artist at the same time. While I chat, I'm going to be working on some goodies that I make for my email newsletter, the Creative Kitsune Club on Substack. The things I'm working on in this video are free to use for both private or commercial use, with some rules of course. So if you are a small business like myself, you're more than welcome to use them if you sign up. Or if you're a fan of my work, the Creative Kitsune Club has my main updates with all the things I'm working on, as well as supplemental thoughts and notes on any YouTube videos that I make. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into it. So first, let's talk about the good things, like all the things that makes me want to buy from someone. So the first thing I look for is, does this booth have art in an art style I like or fandoms I like? I'm gonna gravitate towards aesthetics that are for me. So personally, I'm an alternative girly. So if your booth is kind of punk and it has an art style that's a bit more like neutral to like dark in tone, I'm going to check it out. My favorite fandoms I almost always buy stuff from are things that are more niche. So I like Rune Factory, Harvest Moon, Persona, Splatoon, Princess Tutu on occasion I see once in a while. Now I will say, if you do make niche fandom stuff, don't feel like you have to make a ton of product for them because they're not gonna sell well, let's be honest. But for people like me, I will immediately like buy it. The next thing I look for is, did the artist make eye contact and say hello? So even if an artist has like social anxiety or is kind of shy, I really appreciate just some kind of acknowledgement when I walk over to their table, even if it's just a nod or a hand wave. I also appreciate when artists say things like, hey, let me know if you have any questions, because they're letting me know, like, don't be afraid to talk to me. I'm available, but then they're also giving me like space to like take my time and browse and take in their art, which I appreciate. I also love when artists excitedly talk about their art when I ask them, of course. So I love talking to artists who prioritize talking about their artwork itself instead of like prices of things. So I like asking, so again, this is just me probably, but I love asking about their original characters or their comics if they're selling comics, or their inspirations for their art. Like I like hearing when artists are very excited and happy to like talk about their artwork. It makes me want to buy it. So something else that I really love is when I chat with an artist about something else besides the convention or besides their booth, and we're kind of like make connection that way. So I love fangirling about fan art that they made, and we have a conversation about that show or that game. I love talking about the art progress as a fellow artist. Like if they'd humor me, I ask them like, hey, what art program do you use? And they're like very open and transparent about their process. I also love if someone points out something that I'm wearing and they can follow up with something like that's more genuine besides like, hey, that looks cool. Like I love like a genuine human connection. On that note, I'm not super big on the, hey, I like that thing you're wearing, come over here, I made a sticker or key charm related to this thing. Like it usually turns me off because it feels very inauthentic and salesy. But I'm talking about the good things, but I decided to just sneak that in there right there because that's like a little bit of like my pet peeve there. Unless the artist follows up with something that genuinely expresses their excitement about the certain like thing that I'm wearing, you know, and they can like talk about it besides like trying to get me to buy something related at their shop. I am very chatty, so I appreciate when artists are very polite and they're just like, oh, excuse me one moment, and they have to turn their attention to someone else and they're not like completely like glossing over me. I also really appreciate when artists at Artist Alley have a wide selection of products with different prices to fit my budget. Unfortunately, these days, because of the economy, I'm pretty just, my wallet's just not doing so great right now. So my budget is like really mostly like stickers or key charms or small prints, like anything that's like $15 or less. And judging by a lot of artists' vlogs, it looks like stickers at the time writing this are very popular, like low price item. If I spend more, it's usually on something like very like special, like a comic that the artist did or something that I'm not going to get like anywhere else from any other table. I do love buying fan comics and original stuff, but I understand that I'm one of those rare customers that does like collecting things like that. And so those are the list of things that I like and what I'm looking for. The booth has to have things that I'm already interested in. I love when the artists make eye contact and they say hello, but they still give me space to browse. I love when they're excited. I love when the conversation is about their artwork or the fandoms they're talking about, not just like selling. And I love when there's a wide selection of products that I can figure out, okay, like I am already committed to spending like under $20. What does this artist have under $20? So that's really, really helpful. So those were the things I like. So now let's talk about the things that are my pet peeves. Well, this first one isn't quite a pet peeve because this is no fault of the artist, but it's if they're just not selling anything that I'm interested in. Like if I see tons of like Genshin Impact fandom stuff, or if the booth is too cutesy, I'm sorry. I know so many of you guys do like cutesy coachcore stuff. That's the opposite of my aesthetic. I kind of am that customer that does the polite, like I'm walking by your table and I look over your stuff and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I love the art. And then I'm just moving on, right? Or Baldur's Gate's pretty popular, or really fantasy stuff. I used to be big into fantasy, but not anymore. So if I see a table that's mostly selling fantasy or D&D related stuff, I also kind of gloss over that table. Again, this is no fault of the artist itself, but just letting you guys know that there's just some customers that they're just not going to be about what you are selling, and that's okay. That's okay. I still love the art. The only exception to this, I will say there is one exception, because this happens very rarely, because there are some artists I've met that are able to thread that very fine like line there. But if that person is extra friendly and they stop and have a genuine conversation from me, I will find something at their table to buy, because I'm not interested in D&D, but I know somebody who does. I have friends that do, and I'm like, you know what? I'll pick up something for a friend because this artist was like super cool and super chill. And I would have skipped their table otherwise, but if I've been made to have a really like pleasant experience that wasn't like too forced and just very genuine, I will find something to buy from a table. My second pet peeve is like artists that are distracted and seemingly disinterested. I'm gonna sound like a boomer here, but like, or a millennial, like, because I'm really a millennial. Gen Z complains about us about this sometimes, but point is, like, I don't really like when artists are like way too engrossed in drawing with their tablets. I think it's absolutely incredible how far tablets have come that you can just draw on a tablet and have it not look like shit. But I've been seeing this trend at artist alleys where I know sometimes it's slow and artists like, okay, I'm gonna draw, but then they get so sucked into drawing and I come by their table and I'm like, oh, well, I guess this person just isn't there. And I just skip past it. So, or if they're talking to their neighbor, I've been to tables where they're like so engrossed talking to their neighbor, and I don't expect like them to like notice me immediately. Obviously, I'm not like that, but there's just a vibe where if I walk up, you have like a certain window of time when I'm there where I'm just like, oh, this person isn't interested in like anything. I'm gonna move to the next table, you know? So definitely keep that in mind. My other pet peeve is I hate when vendors bombard me with prices. I understand that convention tables are expensive, but I check out immediately if an artist bombards me with the pricing of their items, because what it does, it tells me that the artist isn't actually interested in the art they made. They're just there to make money and leave. And as someone who loves collecting art, what's important to me isn't just the piece of art itself, unless it's fan art, depends. But most times it's because of the connection that I make with the artists. Because I want to have this piece of artwork hang up and be reminded that, oh, I met this really cool person and they were just so warm and I just love this art piece. Like, you know, part of you is with your art. And for me personally, I completely check out if an artist is like, oh, this is this price, or they'll see me looking at like a sticker and they're like, stickers are $3, postcards are $5. Well, I'm not 5 now. That was like decades ago before inflation. That's, you know, like I think postcards are mostly averaging at like 15 now. Don't do that. Don't do that. Hate that so much. Now, I know many customers may not care about this. Some customers just want their fan art of their favorite characters. They don't really care about the artist who made it. But if you're selling original artwork, right, it's really important to be mindful of this, because if you know someone looking at your original art, I think it's okay to just kind of jump in and say, oh, that's my original character. Let me know if you want to know more about them. Like, you want to give your customers like space to browse, but then let them know that please talk to me, I'm friendly. My other pet peeve, even though this is no fault of the artists themselves as well, but if items are too expensive, or I would say if the item exceeds the average market price, right? I can't speak again for every customer, but as someone on a very tight budget, No matter the budget, I'm gonna want more things that I can afford. And when I'm trying to figure out where to spend my money, I personally would like to stretch it out between many artists instead of dropping it all on one or two artists. The only exception is if I go to like a convention, there's literally like nothing else that I want to buy, and I'm just like, well, this is like the only booth that I like, so I'm gonna just spend like $50 here plus. So it is good to have high price items at your booth, but I'm speaking as someone who is on a budget, and I was like, there's so many artists I want to get from. It's like my strategy is getting like a little bit from everybody, right? I know those tables are expensive, but just please be mindful of that as well as an artist. And my number one pet peeve as well is artists. This is kind of like from a previous one, but they very obviously don't want to talk. So there are a few artists, I'm obviously not going to name names, I see multiple times at conventions that I always skip because I've been to their tables multiple times and they just don't seem interested in talking to me. They kind of like blank stare me. Not quite the Gen Z stare, but they're kind of just like there to make money, and I'm just like, oh, well, I'm bye, I guess. They don't really seem interested in their art, or they feel like they just want to make sales and leave. It's just a vibe I get, and I don't like it. It makes me feel like a walking money bag, and I hate that. And I can't speak for every customer again, but I think it's important that artists get tips from customers' point of view, not just other artists, because artists can tell you how they were able to get sales, but they would never know what caused the customer to walk away. So I'm telling you the things that have caused me to walk away. So to summarize it, I'm gonna walk away if things are too dang high, if things are too expensive. There is like, so for example, for stickers, for me personally, again, the upper end of a sticker for me is $3. $4 is a super big ass. Like, that sticker better have some gold leaf or something on it. I'm sorry. But there's some tables where they'll have stickers, even if it's a design I like, if it's on the upper end of the market price, I just check out. So if it's too expensive, if the artist bombards me with prices, they're not talking about their art, they're just talking about prices. If the artist is too distracted, like I said, these days it's typically artists that are drawing on their tablets and they kind of forget to look up. I'm not saying you can't draw on your tablet at all if you're at Artist Alley. I'm just saying you got to make sure to not like forget that you're there to sell. You can draw at home. And then also some artists are just not selling anything that I'm interested in, and that's no fault of their own. Okay, so let's do story time now. So I had experience where I skipped a booth at a convention because the artist was on their phone. Like, I looked at the items at their table for a bit and it was nice. I probably would have totally bought something, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it was an emergency or whatever. But if you have to take a phone call, you should walk away from your table. But like, taking a phone call, standing there at your table and like didn't even wave, make eye contact, nothing. They were just on the phone facing away, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just go to your neighbor's table instead. So I was annoyed. I went to their table and to their neighbor, and we struck up a conversation for like a good 10 minutes. I bought a bunch of stuff from the person sitting next to them. They were so friendly and so nice. And when I came back to that table later that day, the artist that was on their phone like finally acknowledged me. But see, here's the thing about me, right? I'm Taurus and I'm kind of a petty bitch, okay? So I politely said hello, and then I like skipped their table. I'm sorry, if I have a really bad interaction at a table, there's like a ton of other artists. I don't have to be at your table. I will just leave, right? So that's just a small story to like share for that. And again, I don't know if it was like an emergency, because maybe they were having an emergency. I don't know what the situation was where they had to tune out completely, but as a customer, I don't know what's going on. If you have to like talk to someone, you need to like excuse yourself, because then I would know, okay, the artist is not here. They're not available. Come back later. That's fine. That's fine. There was another time. So there's another artist that I can't go into too much detail with, because this is also local to my area as well. But I was like really disappointed when I met them, because I'd been following their content on social media for a while, and I was really excited when I was like, oh my God, you like go to cons in my area. That's great. It's very hard for me to describe, but I always got that vibe that like that same vibe that I talked about, where some artists, it feels like they're there to sell, and if you're not buying something, it's like they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to strike conversation. There was some stuff that we had in common as well, We went to like the same college, and I was like, oh my God, when's the name of college? And I felt like they were like, oh yeah, that's cool. ... And you know what? It's fine, whatever. But I've gone to their table like multiple times and multiple different conventions. So for me personally, I will go to someone's table not multiple times in the same weekend, but at different events if I see them. And if I keep getting the same kind of like almost like a stonewalled vibe, then I'll just like not buy their stuff. Like I'll just skip their table. Like I'll see their table and I'll be like, oh yeah, I tried talking to that artist. Here's the thing, like I said, for me, when I buy art because I want to feel the connection of the artist through the artwork. I know that feels very sappy and weird, but that's what it is. And I'm not just buying an artwork because it looks pretty. I know maybe a lot of people do, maybe I'm an outlier, but if I just bought an artwork that because it looks pretty, then your art's just this consumable, disposable thing. And the art that I buy, it's not disposable, right? Like it's not something I just have on my wall because it's pretty. I want to have art because the artist was also just such an amazing, like warm person, and I want their artwork in my house, you know? And yeah, I have not bought stuff from them since. There's a whole list of things I wanted to support them and buy all the things, and I'm just like, well, there's a lot of artists I can spend my money on, and it's like, well, I don't want to spend money on an artist that like maybe it feels like, you know, it's just whatever. So this is just me personally, but I always end up buying often from artists who may not, I would say, to be honestly, not like the highest skilled artists at the artist table, or if they're popular, because I buy art because the art speaks to me or the artist is very friendly, and they both kind of go hand in hand, right? Like most time artists who make a ton of sales don't need to put much effort into getting to know their customers because they know they're like whatever they're selling is just that good. People can't resist buying it. They're just there to sell as a vendor, not as an artist. This is going to sound pretentious, but it's like, I feel like artists should act differently from vendors who are like reselling mass-produced stuff. Like you're selling your art. Like you're not selling like something you bought from a manufacturer overseas. You know, like you're not selling like anime figures or just stuff like this is your art. Hello? Like when artists act like vendors only, it makes me not want to buy from them because their art is just there to make money. Like there's no love or soul into it, right? It's like I don't want soulless art that looks pretty. I want a piece of art and be reminded of the artist or convention I got it at because it was a positive experience. Again, this is just me. And also when it comes to fandom, most customers don't care, myself included to be fair, because they already have a connection with that character through that specific show, game, or comic. So the artist doesn't have to put in the extra effort to sell that item. So if you sell Pokemon stuff, for example, like I said, fan art stuff, you don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting with being personable because people, like, they're gonna love the thing that you made, right? But I'm talking to artists who are selling mostly original stuff. You're gonna have to put in a little bit of extra effort there. I'm also saying this as well to artists who feel like they're not good enough. Trust me when I say that not every customer is going to immediately buy from the artist with the highest art skills in the artist alley room, I guess. Like I said, I am not buying art just because it's pretty. I'm buying art because I like the artist as well. And those are my thoughts on things that make me want to buy or not want to buy from an artist alley or vendor markets. Do you have any stories yourself where you were maybe like about to buy from an artist and then like noped out? Or maybe there was something an artist did that you're like, okay, now I wasn't gonna buy from them, but now I have to because this is amazing, right? Like I think that information is very useful to know because, okay, hot take, like artists giving other artists advice on artist alley sales is like halfway helpful. I think it's good to know what's going on from the customer's point of view as well, because that's going to give you some important insight. Thank you again for checking out my video, and I will see you in the next one.